12 apostles, they were men. He didn't pick 6 women and 6 men. He picked 12 men. He's God. And now suddenly you're going to see a woman is a bishop. How did that happen? We don't know. What line did they come from? Why they want to change? Because Satan is working. You see, church by itself, church is the bride. A woman cannot rule a bride. That's against God's will. A man has to rule the bride. That's why a priest is an image of Jesus. Until he delivers the church to Jesus, the bride. How about you?
I think a lot of the society and age take that as a very like, why does the man have to leave me? I can talk about that for myself. Back in the day before coming to Christ and by His grace, it's in the book. It clearly says that the man is supposed to lead the woman with love. Like a man of Christ is not going to abuse the woman like we think they are. You know what I mean? So that's where the problem is. I feel like it's the pride. Like, oh, why? You know, like a man that you think is. That you see everywhere today, you know, well, not everywhere, but mostly, is a man not of Christ. Because a man of Christ will not hurt you. He will not betray you. He will not leave you. He will, because he's fearing God. He's not fearing you as a woman. 1,000,000%.
Because Jesus himself said, he said, love your wife like I love the church. What did he do for the church? He sacrificed himself. Can you?
And then they go, oh, well, you know, good luck finding that. Well, you know what? God said that, first of all, we have to trust that God will send that right person. Second, it's that you can walk the walk alone as well. So, and he said it clearly in the book.
And that's
it's
where,
not alone, you're with Christ.
That's where we go wrong, Brati. You know what we go wrong? We don't wait for
exactly.
God. We want to do it.
Exactly.
And that's where we're going to come.
And
that's our next thing.
Recently.
It's the will of God versus the will of man. Labrati?
I did that myself recently, but he corrected me where I said I'm going to trust him and then went and tried to figure it out. You know where it put me?
Yeah.
In the same place that I could have waited and let him answer the question. And
Yep.
maybe place.
And that's the truth, because the people rush into judgment and doing things, and a lot of guys come with unfortunately, guys mostly come to these naive girls, these girls that just, you know, just by one word they can take them, you know, for a ride, and that's it, you know, and they just play with their minds and they leave them. And that's what they do to these poor girls. And that is what's happening, because they are not people of Christ. Doesn't matter if they have a cross on them, for God's sake. That don't mean nothing. You have to live it. See? So هي لبتاينا جوان بيشقالوا نبناته بخمار النبي وبشواكونا قاموا دي سبب because they have nothing to do with Christ. They have nothing to do with Christ. See? Okay. 1 Thessalonians 4:15 through 18. Let's read 15 through 18. Mani le qariya qari. Who didn't read yet? Mani le qariya. Mani min barkhasa. Millennia. You can read, Brad. I know you always like to eat, but you can read now. You like your dad, you like to eat a lot. ليه خزيت لمطامة؟
لا ما
Okay.
No,
4:15 through 18.
okay. For this we say to you by the word of the Lord, that we who are alive and remain until the coming of the Lord will by no means precede those who are asleep. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel, and with the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds and meet the Lord in the air. And thus we shall always be with the Lord. Therefore comfort one another with these words.
I see everybody's eyes open like this. Surah Mani Qari Laqalan.
إلى آخر مارا وخيرا همزمة مارا أخنا آني تهاوى خاية تبيشخ مارا ليه قد مخلقاني مخلوق سبب مارا جانب وقتا وقالت رش ملاحة بشكورة آلها بتصالة من شمية ونيتا بمشيخة بتبيني غمتا وهيجا احنا نتخايا اني اتقلق بتبيشخ جنيلة أمي مخدادة بعنانة الأرخت مارا بحاوة وهتخا كل زونة عمارا بتهاوخ سبب ويمن بياوة لبا خالها وخينا أنه نسمعنا.
That was fine. So what do we understand from this? You see, always the apostles always thought that Jesus was coming back while they were there, still alive on earth. They always hoped that Jesus was going to come back because Jesus just said one verse that got them all confused. Okay? That he was coming back before that generation is over. Okay? But he didn't mean it that way. It was completely a different meaning. So always the apostles hoped Shamasha تلميذه يسبري وقت مشيخة بتاعتي وجزون الدين. قاعد. Do you know why they wrote the Bible so late? Because they thought they didn't need it. That Jesus was going to come while they were still there. The second coming was at hand. And here we are, 2,000 years. And what do people say? Oh, you've been saying this for 2,000 years, that he's coming. We heard this from our grandparents, we heard it from ancestors, and here we are. Nothing is happening. Really? Well, read what God is saying. He's saying, it's not because I like what you're doing, I am leaving you to live. But it's because I want you to take this love that I have for you. Okay? That you have to take my patience for you for another chance so you can come and repent and come back to me. It's not because I like what you're doing. It's just for you to take advantage of my patience. That's all what God is saying. It's not because I like what you're doing, that's why you're still here. You would have been like Sodom and Gomorrah a long time ago. But because of my patience and my love for you, take advantage of it and repent and come back. Do you know what that means, guys? That means if Jesus came 20 years ago, those 20 million people that repented and came back to him, they would have lost their lives. And that's the proof. He's coming. Yeah, so that is why ليلة قصة أعقام وديل البتاية مارا. No, قصة إلى there is still more work. There was still more work for Paul to do then. There is still more work for you to do. What are you doing? Are you doing your work, or this is it? Wednesday church and then we go and sleep 6 days. That's what happened. See? And that's what St. Paul is asking. What do? We eat, we drink, we sleep, and we wake up. That's it. So everything is in vain then. He said, all our preaching is in vain, it's no sense to you, and the resurrection of Jesus don't mean nothing. Really? And that is why if you look at this picture, they're thinking always that Jesus is going to come. He said, if Jesus comes and I am still here, then first, all the ones that died in Jesus' name, they will be resurrected. And then we will follow and we'll meet them. See, a lot of people ask this question. So what is it that people died in Jesus' name, they will be resurrected first? And a lot of people will say, wait a second, so what's going to happen? Well, you have to think, how many people die in every minute? Or every 11 seconds, I think, is a person every 11 seconds, right? So when Jesus is coming, those 11 seconds, right? You have millions of people dying. They will be the one that meet Jesus first. Then the one that are still alive will meet him. in heaven. So this is the question. Where is the kingdom for those? And where is the kingdom for us? Are we living in the kingdom? Or are we waiting for the kingdom? Are we in the wilderness? Or are we in the promised land? See, that's the difference. It's our life story. Jewish people came out of Egypt. It means they came out of what? They came out of slavery. So we came out of slavery. They walked on top of a cross. If you see the sea open, if you see it from the top, you will see an image of a cross, and people are walking over it. If you had an airplane that day, so we came into the wilderness from slavery. But then, the eyes have to be on the price. A lot of them didn't make it. A lot of them were killed by snakes, scorpions, illness, and the wrath of God. Few people, new generation mostly, made it to the promised land. Through who? Joshua, which his real name is Jesus. So, what happened? Moses couldn't take him to the promised land. Why? Because Jesus has to take him to the promised land. Joshua. So what happened? Are you still living in the wilderness? Or are you in the promised land while you are in the wilderness? That is the kingdom. Most of the Jewish people were living in the wilderness, and they died in the wilderness. Today we are living in the wilderness, but we're not gonna die, because our hopes are promised land. And that's what he's trying to tell us, promised land. So, أخنا هيويا إلى أبنتي وبخايا جبرية إلى أيضا إلى المودي الملكوتة أيضا إلى الملكوتة قد منطق البرامس لاند أن تخيلوا جبرية نطيلوا إسرائيل نطيلوا البرامس لاند. Are you living in the wilderness? باقر جاب بخاية جبرية ين بخاية جو أرعب قولة kingdom. So احنا بخاية وجو أرعب قولة بطروخة إنا إيمان برخي خلدي باتخيتا, right? They had to cross the river again, the Jordan River, right? To go to the promised land. And that's exactly our life story. We have to cross that river. Get it all. Come on. قد منطق الأرعب قولة. And that is by living by the soul. When you live by the soul, إيمان تخيل ملكوتة بطروخة إلا أنت بتخيل لا بتفغر. So the ones, they were in the wilderness, they were living by the soul into the new, the promised land, they made it to the promised land. The ones that didn't, it died in them, everything died there. So you have to ask yourself, am I living in the wilderness or I am living in the promised land? That's what counts. If you are living in the promised land by the soul, then you're going to live in it by the flesh. And that's exactly what happens here. So the ones that were alive, they were still waiting for Jesus Christ. They were living in the promised land. The one that passed away, then they passed away in the hope that they're going to live in the promised land. And that's what matters. So if God called us today, like he called one of our brothers today from the church Ashur, may God rest his soul. You know, suddenly, 1, 2, 3, right? So was he living to be in the promised land? That's the question. And that's what you hope for every person. That they can see the promised land before they get there. It's their dream. We dream about the kingdom. But we have to live it at the same time. We have to live it by the sword. يكاو بخايا جو ملكوت علىها بتروخة قد ماسخ بيش قبيلة جاو بتبغر. And that is why I'll go back to the same thing right here, the same thing. This is it. This is where you're going to end up, right here. This is your picture. This is it. What's going to happen? God will live with us. God علىها بتمصليله ماشي كنتية وبتخيا عمان. That's why He's given us the new earth. That's why He's given us the new Jerusalem. That's why He's given us everything new. Jesus said, I made everything new. When Jesus says everything, it means everything. And when He says, I give you the kingdom, it means the whole kingdom, not percentage. You inherited the whole thing. Everything He has is yours. Maybe if you have a sister and you want to inherit something, you might give her a percentage, right? But God doesn't do that. God doesn't do that. Jesus gave us everything.
ثم رأيت سماء جديدة وأرضا جديدة لا بحر فيها لأن السماء والأرض القديمين قد زالتا وأنا رأيت المدينة المقدسة أورشليم الجديدة نازلة من السماء من عند الله مجهزة كأنها عروس مزينة لعريسها وسمعت صوتا هاتفا في العرش الآن صار مسكن الله مع الناس وهو يسكن بينكم وهم يصيرون شعبا له الله نفسه يكون معهم إلها لهم وسيمسح كل دمعة من عيونهم إذا يزول الموت والحزن والصراخ والألم لأن الأمور القديمة كلها قد زالت. آمين.
آمين.
And now I saw a new heaven and a new earth. The first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And John saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and He will dwell with them. And they shall be His people, and God Himself shall be with them, and God be their God. And God shall wipe away all the tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away.
Beautiful. So you see, the Old Testament, whatever happened was a it was the picture of what is gonna happen in reality to us. This was a picture just shown to us. So it was preparing us to what's about to happen. So Iwa, that is why St. Paul said we have to learn from the Old Testament. When we read the Old Testament, we have to learn from it. What are we going to learn? We're going to learn this, that all that was a picture and this is reality. And that's what's going to happen. We come from the wilderness and we're going to end up here. This is the promised land. We're going to live with God again. Just like was Adam. Just exactly the way Adam lived. We're going to be in the same flesh that Adam was living in before he became into this flesh. And that's all what matters. See? So this is the kingdom. When you say, your kingdom come, this is what you have to imagine. You're living with God. No more tears, no more bad news. You open your Facebook, everything is great. See? You open the news channel, all what it is about is love. Yeah, exactly. So now the news is news because it's bad. If it's good, it's not news, right? But then we're gonna get used to it the other way. There will be nothing bad. It's all gonna be good. See?